webinar this. It is a pleasure to welcome you to our webinar this afternoon. It's afternoon here in South Africa, so yeah. Um, so let me begin by recognizing and appreciating our amazing partners and colleagues that are joining us today from Accra. We also have colleagues from Panapan, where I am from. We also have Generation Africa, the East African Community, also known as the EAC, and SADC. And most importantly, I would also like to acknowledge the EFI initiative for their generous financial support in making this engagement possible. So today's webinar will be highlighting the voices and perspectives on how women and youth are shaping the future of agriculture through innovation and mechanization. And I believe that we have a number of youth joining us today and also women, which is good because today's session is all about us and how we are shaping the future of agriculture in Africa. And we are so privileged to have Dr. Amos Ngwira from Accra. He is an agronomist and modeler who's going to share insights on how women and youth are changing the world by embracing mechanization in agri-food systems. We will also hear from a young participant, youth, who will share his lived experience in this space. He's also going to give us a practical perspective of the opportunities and challenges on the ground. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like now to hand over to Kimati, who is going to guide us through today's facilitation. Fasten your seatbelts and enjoy today's webinar. If you have any questions, just be noting them down. If you have any comments on anything that we'll be discussing, do not be afraid to speak up. Thank you and enjoy today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kanto, and a warm welcome to everyone else who's joining us. Would also want to extend hearty welcome to everyone from across East Africa and the SADC region. I think today's session gives us an opportunity to discuss and to learn and to share our own experiences on mechanization and probably also find out how we can best be able to achieve mechanization even as youths and as women operating within the region. Dr. Amos Ngwira has been helping us significantly, at least in developing strategies and developing programs that would help in the mechanization efforts across Africa, at least within the Eastern and Southern African parts of Africa. And we are hoping that through his experience, we are going to be able to take out a few learnings that we hope we can utilize, even as youths, that we can probably domesticate in our own ways to bring value to the things in the implementation of our own agro-food systems. I think in terms of structure for the meeting, we will allow Dr. Ngwira to make a presentation, and thereafter, one of the young participants, one of the people who've actually been implementing mechanization will be allowed to share, and then we will also allow people to raise in questions, which you can continue doing anyway through the common chats below as you carry on also introducing yourselves. Back to you, Kanto. Kanto?
Thank you. I was having a technical issue here. It's actually Mukona Swati, so Kanto is a colleague of mine. So now we are going to go ahead and welcome our first speaker for the day, which is Mr. Amos from Accra. The floor is yours. Can you hear us? Mr. Amos, are you with us? Okay, thank you. I see that you've started sharing. Thank you.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. You may go ahead and start with your presentation, say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity for me to make this presentation at this webinar with the title Unlocking the Power of Women and Youth for Smallholder Mechanization in Southern and Eastern Africa. The first disclaimer is that I'll be also be presenting or be touching on some examples of or case studies from two West African countries, that is Mali and also Ghana. So just in brief, but as you see, the title is restricted to Southern and Eastern Africa, but my examples may also reflect what has been going on in Ghana and also in Mali. So just to give a context of the state of mechanization in Africa, we are experiencing a number of challenges and pain points in mechanization adoption, which relate to heavily on financial barriers. So we are looking at limited access to financing for farmers and service providers, mainly due to high upfront costs. And also in most countries, we lack collateral, and also we have high interest rates. There is also weak leasing markets for farm equipment. This is more evident in the low percentage of agriculture GDP as credit, especially if we look at Rwanda as an example. And also there is a limited share of total bank credit going to agriculture, which is quoted in most countries between 4 to 6%. Another challenge is related to local capacity and infrastructure deficits, which is heavy reliance on imported machinery. So most of the major equipment that we see are imported from elsewhere, and this leads to high maintenance costs and also very difficult conditions in sourcing spare parts. There's also lack of local fabrication hubs and appropriate scale technology that is affordable and easy to repair in this region. There is also shortage of skilled mechanics and technicians, especially in rural areas, where we see there's a lot of a long downtime if the machinery breaks. In rural areas, there is also poor rural access to machinery services and also unreliable energy costs, especially electricity, that affects the adoption of motorized and also solar-powered equipment. The other challenge or main point is related to policy and regulatory issues, with inconsistent policies on import duties, taxes, and subsidies. So these are not consistent across countries. And we also lack standardization in terms of machinery quality and also safety regulations, and weak enforcement of the mechanization policies wherever they exist in some of the countries. There is also a gap in terms of knowledge, limited awareness among farmers about mechanization benefits. There is also resistance to change from traditional farming practices, particularly due to where we have small and fragmented land holdings. So for farmers to aggregate their land to allow operations of mechanization becomes a challenge, and also inadequate extension services. The last point I want to highlight is related to social and environmental concerns. There is lack of targeted financing that is really targeting women and youth-led agribusinesses. There is also a challenge with the cultural biases, limiting women's access to machinery, and also youth viewing farming as very unattractive due to high manual labor. especially if we take an example of Malawi, where 70% of food farmers are women. In terms of climate change and also and how to rate use of heavy machinery, there is this challenge that maybe use of heavy machinery can cause soil compaction and degradation. And also, if you are using heavy machinery, they can also increase carbon emissions. And then there's this limits adoption of conservation agriculture tools. But mechanization, despite all these challenges, mechanization is also viewed as a change driver. So in terms of increasing crop output, reports indicate that mechanization can boost crop output by 20 to 50%. Especially this is arising through precise planting, better input application, and also timely harvesting. Mechanization has also been reported to contribute to reduction in labor and operational costs. And also there is time saving, about 40 to 60% of time saving, which leads to improvement in labor efficiency, allowing farmers to manage larger areas or also use the saved labor to diversify their enterprises. There is also a benefit in terms of reduction in losses due to timely harvesting, processing, and storage. Now, despite these benefits that can be derived from implementation of mechanization solutions, we need to look at strategic approaches and interventions, especially looking at the ecosystem level, where we look at how do we involve individuals, how do we involve communities, how do we engage the whole ecosystem to achieve youth and women employment outcomes. So this includes some kind of soft training and technical skills, access to financing, market linkages, and enabling regulatory environment for this to work. So this slide I am projecting is one of the slides that AGRA is using to identify opportunities where jobs in mechanization can come from. So if you look at the community level, it's mainly engaging youth to facilitate access to mechanization and greenhouse facilities that exist. So the most business model, the common one that we have been using is the mechanization as a service, where you increase access of youth and agri-port and services that later on drive production and also drive profitability through increased sales. At individual level, youth can be used as extension and farm inputs, aggregation, agro dealership, and also using the mechanization directly. So now I'll jump into some of the case studies from different countries. So we have cases from Ghana, we have cases from Malawi, cases from Mali, and I'll deep dive more on what we have been doing in Tanzania. So for Ghana, the main challenge that we have been addressing is a youth disengagement in agriculture due to lack of knowledge, limited access, and high cost of mechanization services. So the justification is that if we use mechanization, it can act as a catalyst for productivity and also employment creation across the value chains. And the job pathways that we have seen is they are related to on-farm operations, post-harvest or processing, and also non-farm activities. So in terms of on-farm operations, where youth are engaged as tractor operators, planters, services like spraying or using equipment to help in weeding and also transplanting. In terms of post-harvest, as you will be hearing from one of the SMEs, the most significant part comes from sharing services, also meeting, and this is largely done by female or young women. And in terms of non-farm activities, we see isolated cases of small workshop fabricators of small equipment, and also there are some youth that are engaged in maintenance and repair of small equipment. So these are some of the job pathways along the mechanization value chains that have been identified in Ghana. For some reason, my slides are failing to move. Okay, for Malawi, the story is like we are focusing on access to appropriate equipment, affordable financing, and also youth and women capacity building. So the building, capacity building in terms of technical, businesses, local fabrication, and also market access, linking them to structured markets. And most of the interventions are structured for increased productivity, youth employment, and also economic growth. So most of the job pathways are ecosystem-led. So we're looking at fabrication of small equipment, also facilitating access to finance in terms of grants, lease agreements, and also youth coming together in cooperatives or hubs to strengthen the aggregation models. And this is done with a number of partners, including the machine providers like Mahindra, FES or Tata, and also engaging financial literacy and business model training that is supported by National Youth Council of Malawi and also some local NGOs. In terms of productivity, we are linking these to service providers, especially Farmers Union, and also those organizations that support farmers in terms of crop production or crop productivity. In Mali, we are doing similar. What this seminar is covering, where they are unlocking youth potential, employment opportunities through promotion of sustainable agriculture mechanization services. And there they are trying to address the main issue around poor access to equipment and inadequate training, which would enhance access to mechanization services for improved productivity. And the planned interventions include training entrepreneurs, supporting youth associations, and running mechanization centers. So the target there is to include large mechanization pools, including training operators, youth-led enterprises, and significant youth outreach, thereby increasing the number of youth in work. Now allow me to deep dive more in Tanzania, where we have been working for almost more than 2 years. So in Tanzania, we started building on the lessons from the past before we could design some interventions. So one main lesson was that we need to be emphasizing the need for inclusive financial products and also support for local fabrication. Again, previous programs also had overlooked women. So therefore, the focus of the current investments has been more on women and youth. There is also need to look at the importance of high-tech and digital solutions. So you are looking from the supply side to facilitate mechanization services. So a number of investments that are in Tanzania on mechanization, they have identified critical binding constraints, slow adoption, limited financing, limited knowledge, shortage of skilled operators, high costing, poor quality of agri-tech solutions, limited digital integration, high cost of modern machinery, and also financial constraints. So most of the interventions have been developed to test cases. So by providing business development services for financing, training, supporting agri-SMEs, and also linking financial institutions, establishing market linkages, and also facilitating agri-tech innovations, aggregating demand, and industry partnerships by strengthening operational models. So the approach is by using mechanization as a service, as the business model, but bringing a number of players, looking at what their strength is in a particular node of the mechanization value chain. So we're looking at the TAP BDS that support with the BDS for financing. We also have CIDO providing also digital innovation solutions for mechanization services. Then we also have VETA that provide tailored tracing while addressing gender biases. So as I had mentioned earlier on, the approach is more of ecosystem services, looking at all the binding forces that exist in a particular ecosystem, looking at access to technology, skill gaps, financing, BDS, and the like. So by using this integrated approach, we are able to show that a process from skill development to incubation of youth and women SMEs, including digitization and also business cases with the banks and financial institutions. These all lead to scaling and also market demand. This slide shows, illustrates the interconnectedness of the various actors that we see along the various nodes of the mechanization value chain. Looking at financial service providers, government, equipment dealers, investors, maintenance providers, technology providers, and also value chain actors, all enabling smallholder farmers and owners of the, or operators of the machinery. So this one gives like a real world example from Tanzania, detailing how mechanization creates jobs for machine owners, also groups who rent equipment, and the agents involved in sales and in distribution of the various mechanization services. Maybe now I can conclude so that we have more time in discussion. From our work, we have seen that mechanization in Africa, it presents a paradox of immense potential. So for productivity gains, cost reduction, and also job creation. Of course, with a number of systemic changes in the process. So while mechanization can dramatically increase crop output, save time, reduce its widespread adoption is still hampered by a number of financial, infrastructure, policy, knowledge, and social cultural barriers that need to be addressed if we are to land with mechanization. However, if we look at the examples that I have briefly explained, we see that there's a growing understanding that we need a holistic ecosystem approach for this to work. And this can happen if we focus on how do we enable access of affordable and inclusive financing to scale appropriate mechanization, and also how do we build capacity in terms of technical and business skills training for youth and women, whether as operators, mechanics, fabricators, and also entrepreneurs. Now, there should also be good policy in place, especially in developing rural infrastructure. We need to have standard regulations and also creating an enabling environment that supports, especially if we are looking at local manufacturing, so that we reduce dependency on imports. We also need to foster strong linkage in terms of markets, supporting agri-tech innovations, and also encouraging private sector engagement. While addressing the issues of integrating women and youth in all aspects of the value chain, making it more attractive. So maybe in conclusion, we can say successful mechanization in Africa requires building a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable ecosystem that empowers smallholder farmers, creates meaningful employment for young people and young women to transform the whole agriculture landscape for broader economic growth. Let me stop here and maybe allow some reflections or insight or some questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amos, for such an insightful and informative presentation. I believe that a lot of people have, questions, and we are going to discuss that during the discussion time. Now, I would just like to hand over to Kimati. Kimati, can you hear me?
Yes, thank
Kimati?
you. Thank you very much. I think, sorry about, so thank you so much, Amos. That was quite inspiring and really good introduction to this conversation. In terms of the process, I think what we wanted to do is, first of all, hear from one of the youth, one of the young guys who's been implementing, who is actually a mechanization entrepreneur. I don't know if Albanas Mwangangi is in the call. So he does his presentation, then as a case study. Then thereafter, we will have a brief discussion, and we can raise some of the questions that we also have for both the presentations at once. Albanas? Is Albanas in the room?
Yes, I'm okay.
Yes. So yeah, so if you could kindly introduce yourself and go ahead and share with us your experiences. I think then after that we can actually go to the question and answer session.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Manganga Albanas. I'm a Kenyan youth from lower eastern part of Kenya. When you talk about agri-mechanization, it is a very vital topic that makes us to rethink more in Africa. But as I begin on, Africa doesn't have a problem of food production, but it is the problem of post-harvest. So, before I open up as an enterprise, I grew up watching the women and the youth toiling a lot with post-harvest that is passing through a painful process that is beating, just using an heavy method of which it was too tiresome for them to go across on. But that kept me to ask in my mind, could it be this be the way? Then, by that time, I was in a college. But after the school, I had a great hope that after the school, like the other young people, I will learn to most of big agricultural institution. But that one did not pave me on. Then, I decided now. I decided to open up. Before I decided to open up, after that one, I lost the hope of being employed. Then with that process, I came across an advert that was being posted by Hunger for Cereal Growers Association. I was recruited as a village-based advice. You know, the question was still ringing in my mind. What should I do to help our people? What should I do to make our people, rural community, to help them to know that what we should do to improve our production? Because I knew that there's a background with an engineer, in agricultural engineer, mechanization is the way to do. So my question turned to a turning point. Life is so funny. It pushes us into a purpose. As I stand here, I didn't know that one day, one time, I will be talking of Africa agri-mechanization. So, in Cereal Growers Association, we passed through different farmer training, but in that process, I was able now to know deeper the problem affecting farmers. That is why I came to realize that farmers are affected by lack of skills or a gap in agri-mechanization, especially in post-harvest. Why? When you look in Africa, we depend on imported machines. Those machines, when it comes to Africa, some of them, they did not do what is expected in Africa. Because you find that for example, let's look at a maize sheller. It is only purpose for the maize sheller. But what will happen to other arid areas where farmers are growing maybe palm millet, pigeon peas, the other things like the arid crops, which need just a small rate, a bit little rate. So this was a very big challenge. So with that, because I know the problems, I decided now, as a determined engineer, the youth, I decided now to come up with just a small prototype. I decided to use a drum and a chain, unlike the other competitors in the world. So at first, the farmers loved me a lot because they say that how comes that a drum can do the work? Some were thinking that I'm mad, but I told them it will work. Now, after testing it, it worked, but I kept on refining up to a point that it picked well with less break-ins and clean. So it overworked the other imported machine from outside the country. And now with this small experiment, that is how the Hemba Innovation Enterprise was born. Today, as a CEO, I'm here talking about African mechanization. Our machines are not just a machine, a multi-crop thresher, a multi-crop animal feeding chopper. Reason behind is it is one-stop working machines. If you are doing the line of crop production, you can do anything concerning crop production, not unless you want to do something like root. The other hand is a diversification of the machines. Remember, through CGA and Hangra, I was able now to know the inner problem that affecting the farmers. That is why our machine behaved very well. So in the process, I encountered more challenges. That is financing. I remember at first, I was carrying my machine using a bicycle because I had nothing. I had no motorbikes, but I tried a lot to solve some finance, but that machine gives me a motorbike to start the work. Mindset was also a big problem because local innovations, most of the farmers thought that, of course, we got machines which are being imported to our country or to our region. This can do better. They believed it can do better than what I have. Because what I have, it is already been manufactured here in our region, but it is a local. So cannot do the work which the other imported can do. So that was another big problem. Adoption of agri-mechanization, even to the other mechanization, it is a big problem in Africa. But also another problem was market access. Reaching remote farmers without a proper market linkage, it was a very big problem because the farmers, they were looking my machine like, could be this one do the right work? So this was a very big problem in me, but I struggled a lot. Every obstacle I came across, I took it as an advantage. Keep on refining. Up to this point, then I've made my machine to be well known in the region because it helped to thresh different kind of crop, beginning with the tedious crop like beans production. The beans was very stubborn to be threshed, but now we have a solution, being using our local material. Then in my strategies, I came to understand that the farmers are also coming across different problems. I need to diversify my product and also to fit the problem which the farmers are going. For example, for the first, I fabricated the design multi-crop thresher using the local material. The reason why I use the local material is because of when I come with an ambiguous material like what has been imported, some remote communities will indicate from it. Then I decided to come with that drum because everybody knows the drum. Even if you don't know the drum, because the drum is everywhere. That is why he came with the drum. The idea to be chipped into the people's mind. This is the threat, so they will not be scared about. Unlike the other machine, which needs a lot of skills to be trained, to be shown what it should be. But even you come across what I have is something which is simple. Nobody can scale. If you think about the chain, we have seen the chain in the plows. So that is what came into my mind, and innovate. And that bring a very big, a competitive into the Africa. And this is a big joy that African, we can grow. African, we can make our coordinate be proud. African, we can live things like import and export. We have the resources that can do. Youth involvement in agriculture. This is only the area. Because we as the youth, when we trained on agribusiness and show the aspect, what we can do, we can make our coordinate great. So in my enterprise, this is what I do. I normally train youth on agribusiness aspect. That is aggregation. I normally train the others like fabrication and also operating machines such that it become a business. Because when you operate, when you do threshing for the first season and you get more 50,000 or 20,000 Kenyan shilling for the first time, the next time you will have 2 workers. This one is also a crop production. Then through the process of production, I would be able now to create partnership with the different organization like county government, World Food Programs. Of course, World Food Program has helped me a lot. And Jack of Lad Africans. Those are the organization. I think there are others, but this helped me with business tips. Remember, I'm an engineer, so I had no knowledge about the business, but the business tip on how, yes, you came up with an agribusiness workshop, but you have a business concept. That is another big problem. If you train our young people on how to transact, how to do the business, it will pay very good to them. And also it will be a big joy to them. So this is a picture of some youth in one of dried land in Turkana, but they are doing irrigation. So it was a big joy for them, training them on how to do fabrication. I think this was a sample of the drum we are designing on how they can be fabricated, and then they use as a thresher to thresh things like green gram, maize, beans, all that across the value chains. That is what I was training them. So after doing that, I came now to track the impact. What impact have I brought into the country? Because my dream was bringing this idea into the country and scale up to other parts of Africa. Then in the first 2 years, I was able to increase the household dependent on my services from 200 to 400. Also increase the youth from 10 to 19, whereby those youth are being employed direct and indirect. Remember, these are the youth who are in fabrication, those who are in threshing services, that operators, and also there are some youth inside between here, or for example, in marketing, and also commission part. So for the first 2 years, we have been able now to reach 40,000 ton. I think it is over of grain threshed in the first 2 years. And also we have been able now to sell 17 threshers to individual farmers across the country. And over 200 farmers also trained. Remember, these are the farmers whom we normally train on post-harvest technologies, because we came to know that post-harvest, it is the main problem, not production. The main problem, the scientists are bringing a very good tactics on how we grow. But when it comes to harvesting time, this is where the challenge is. For example, the climate has bring a lot of bad and also good things. For example, we came to understand that some different part, the rain patterns changed. So what do those people need to do? For example, if the rain has become too little, so they need to adapt to grow the crop that needs little rain. And now these crops need mechanization to produce. And that is why you hear some different parts of countries, we have crisis in food production. It is because of mechanization, because things like parameter is too irritating. And that is why most cases, it is rare to get this kind of crops, because mechanization have been very key. Sometimes to import is also a very big problem. And that is why I'm championing here to say that rural mechanization, if well supported by government and non-government and other agencies, we will see Africa in another area, not the African window. African youth, we have an energy, we can do better. We can increase what we have from 1 to 2. And if we get 2, we can multiply thrice and make our continent great. Then this is my reflection. What would Africa look like if we reduce post-harvest losses by 70% by characterizing local innovation? That is future we are building at the Empire. Thank you. Back to you, Kimani.
Kimati,
Thank you, Albanas. Thank you very much, Albanas. That was a very amazing presentation, really, really practical, and really talks to the smallholders and the micro level farmers. Now the floor is open for anyone who has any initial thoughts around this, the two presentations. Please feel free to either raise your hand and I'll give you the floor. But even as we wait for this, I wanted to find out if both Amos, Dakari, and CEO Mongangi, are you able to talk a little about the environmental risks or even the sustainability concerns that have been associated lately with increased mechanization and how they can be mitigated? I don't know whether Daktari or Amos, please feel free to take the floor as we look at the other questions and concerns. Amos or Albanas, please feel free to respond if you may.
Yeah, I think we were struggling to get unmuted. So I think I had highlighted in terms of if you look at the proponents of conservation agriculture, they normally frame like if we use agricultural mechanization, especially if we use heavy machinery, these will lead more on soil degradation. They are looking at the soil compaction and also soil erosion. Also increase greenhouse gas emissions from fuel use, pollution from chemicals that are being applied, and also from other industrial waste. So we have that high level of pollutions. And in terms of biodiversity, it has some impact in some instances where it promotes crop monocropping, because you won't use the machinery from end to end, so from plowing up to harvesting. So some of the value chains, maybe you don't need to intercrop with maybe cereals with legumes or cereals with other crops. So you are using one crop, so it encourages also kind of monocropping, which is also not very good in terms of crop biodiversity. I think for now, those are the ones that come to my mind. Mr. Mwangangi, can you add something?
Yes, I think it is on what I can add is on water pollution. In water pollution, it is whereby when we depend on imported machines, I think we can cut off just a certain percentage of those machines which are being passing through the water systems. And also, it is on air noise pollution. When you rely on swift, clean energy machines like solar and also electricity, I think this one can be quite good. Yes, thank you. Back to you, Kiman.
Thank you, Mwangangi. Yeah, a few other questions. I think two questions from Innocent Nyondo, assuming from Malawi. I think one of the questions, well, basically one question to you, Daktari, and the other one to Bwana Mwangangi. Daktari, I think Nyondo is asking, were you able to look at the challenges the youth are facing in accessing financing opportunities for mechanization? I think, and he was referring to NYCOM or AGCOM. And he knows that youth groups that struggle with coming up with compelling concepts. I think the second one from Innocent to Mwangangi, I think it still focuses on financing, just trying to understand what financing challenges you have had to face and how you've been able to overcome these challenges. I think you might have mentioned this in passing, but I think you might as well mention it. If we can start with Daktari, and then Bwana Mwangangi, you can come in.
You can hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I think the first challenge is, most young people, especially those that live in rural areas, they lack collateral. So most of the programs that offer maybe some credit or other variable assets, they want you to have some level of collateral for you to get some loan. On how you can mitigate the risk or making it difficult for you to get the or qualify for credit. And also, if we look at the socio-economic environment in Malawi, even if where loans are available, they are often with high interest rates and with a very short repayment period, which becomes very conducive environment for our youth to access loans. Again, most of the youth don't own land, or they don't have valuable assets, which also is linked to the first point on a lack of collateral. There are some financial institutions also. They perceive young people, especially those that would like to venture into agriculture, as high-risk borrowers, because there is this perception that financial institutions just have to young people to have to lend them some money to engage in agricultural activities. Some of the aspiring young people lack well-developed or articulated business plans, or maybe training in financial literacy, so that when they want to go to any financial institution for a loan, they lack some compelling cases for them to get some loans. Then we have this challenging issue also that is more complex. If you look at the bureaucracy, the application processes that are involved for someone to get a loan, and it requires some kind of maybe having them in a group so that they can support each other before they can also get the loan. So those are some of the challenges that I have experienced, but as some people who are here also who have some experiences, whether they have tried to do this, they can also share what they have experienced. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. Bwana Mwangangi, the floor is yours.
Yes. Some of the financial problem, some of the problem, now the challenges that are affecting the youth mostly, I come across on it is on access of affordable finance. Due to the economic constraint, you find that, for example, back here in Kenya, the rates from the banks are too high. So for the youth to do the business in machineries and also hiring or to impose some, to get some machinery, it is another problem, because the rates of which we can get the finance. Number two, it is about high initial cost of the machine. For example, once I've highlighted that the reason why I come up with affordable and adaptable machine was because of this problem. You find that to import a machine across from the abroad, it is very expensive, such that even if maybe you, the organizer, and get one, they will not, the return took long time to get. So this is another problem which hinders the youth to do the mechanization. Another problem, it is the maintenance and spare part per cost. Some of the machine which are being imported outside the country, especially on post harvest, it took a long time to get a spare part from outside the country. So this is another thing that hinders the youth to go on mechanization. Also, we have perception risk. Some youth feared, if we get it wrong, to hire machine from outside the country, can this machine work better here in our region? This is another very big problem with the youth. They were also they are in risk to get it. Another thing is the gap in mechanization skills. And that is why I've highlighted that the reason why I came up with local fabrication in rural communities is because to remove that perception of machine can kill someone. That is why they are deviating about the machine. For them to know this is a machine can do the work and has been done through our local material. We know this material. These are main number of young youth, because I was targeted, my first persona was skills and non-skills. I was targeted those people as that they will be able now to operate without fear. Machine can be operated by skilled and non-skilled, because what it is there, they are open maintenance. Things which you don't need to go for import. It is things which are around. That is why another big problem was being highlighted through my research. Thank you. Back to you, Kiman.
Thank you, Albanas. Michael Mpundu, if you're still in the call, if you may, please ask your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a very interesting meeting and a big opportunity. Especially, I like the aspect of working with smallholder farmers. So I just want to find out the opportunities available in for us replicating this, like here in Zambia, and also the possibility of that, and also if this is something that you have done before working with other partners in other countries, or this will be the first time, and how you look at especially the challenges that you have shared, how best we can work around that. Thank you.
I don't know whether Albanas wanted to start on this, especially on the part regarding smallholder farmers, if you may. Then Daktari, you can come in after, if that's okay with you. Bwana Mwangangi.
Yes. I didn't get the question very well from Pindu. Maybe kindly can you repeat for the question to get it? I don't know whether it is because of the challenges in networking, but kindly repeat the question, please.
I was asking about the opportunities available to partner and replicate this, like here in Zambia, and also if that is something that you have done already, or this is going to be the first time.
I think from what I get from you, I don't know whether it is about the challenges in network, but are you asking about the opportunities which are there for the small scale farmers to partner with
I think if I may, and Michael, please clarify if I'm overstating or understating your question. But what he's asking is, are there any opportunities? Michael is based in Zambia. So he's asking, and you're based in Nairobi, in Kenya, sorry. He's asking whether there are any partnership opportunities, basically to have, to cross-pollinate whatever learnings or whatever technologies you're applying to other countries, including his own. Basically, that's, I hope I'm not overstating or understating a fact. Michael.
No, exactly, just like that.
Okay. Mr. Michael, opportunities are there. According to my dream was not only to scale in Kenya. I wanted to scale the whole of Africa. My dream was to see that African brothers and sisters, we are no longer passing the painful process, which I grew up seeing in my naked eye. Mine is to partner with any youth across the Africa to see and to train you. I think there is I've given you when you go to the my slide, there is somewhere was a training youth on issues of fabrication. So when you came up to your country, I would be able to train you and show you what are the possible opportunities you can do, because this is only the area. Youth, we can build millions of dollars. When we build millions of dollars in your country, you built our continent. And is that connection African, we can export? Yes, I think I've answered the question.
Yes, obviously, for more details, I will follow up direct.
All right, thank you. Leandre Bakaniraora. I hope I got it right. I think you have a very long question. I don't know if you want to ask the questions directly. But ideally, what you are saying is that you're the founder of AgriHopper Rwanda, a youth-led agribusiness based in Rwanda, and would like to ask these two questions. Number one, what specific strategies would you recommend to ensure rural women not only access but own and control mechanization tools in a male-dominated farming communities? And this particular question goes to Dr. Amos Ngwira. And the second one is, what key factors enabled you to engage 19 youths and train? And I'm sure this is for Bwana Mwangangi, but what key factors enabled you to engage 19 youths and train over 200 farmers in such a short time? If you can respond to that, I think, because this is very specific, that you can start off, and then Bwana Mwangangi, you can come in with the second question.
Okay. Let me start with the last question. The fact that earned me to engage with 19 youth and the number rises from 200 to 400. It is because of, remember, as I've enlightened earlier in my presentation, is that I have, through Cereal Growers Association, Fire Agra, I was recruited as a field-based advisor. So, as a based advisor, I was keenly researching what problems affecting Africa to do crop production, especially because I started with the Kenyan. So I came to realize that the major problems which affecting Kenyans are post-harvest. That is the major problems. And what could the possible solution to be done? The possible solution to be done was that if it comes with an ambiguous material, still the problem will persist. Still they will go in the problem. So I decided, this one takes me a lot of, it makes me not to sleep for most of times, because I wanted to make sure that my problem will solve independently problem that is affecting Africa. So I decided to come with local material, and that is why the number is growing every day, because material which everybody knows, something which is not ambiguous, even the small person or the children can know, this is a drum, we can operate. This is just a simple thing, because this is what I was figuring on. Another question I think I want to respond to it was, I think it was about the mechanization in Rwanda. How can this one be accessed in Rwanda for the women? It is a big joy for the women here, because the women here, they can get an opportunity in winnowing, they can get opportunity in threshing, because the machine, it doesn't require a person with more skills. So long as you have hand and you can operate. Doesn't need so many skills to operate. So this is what I was pickering on. So there is very big opportunities in post-harvest concerning this, because the women, because I know the major person I was looking at was these women. How can these women be helped? Because you will find that in most cases are the ones which had been left at home to do this work. So how can these women be helped? That is why when you have this machine, you can do any multitask concerning threshing, except root crop. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Mwangangi. Daktari, I don't know if you have anything more to add to this.
Yes, a bit. So I'll start maybe 2 points to my brother from Zambia. So Agra was approached by the government of Zambia to support the digitization of the mechanization services in the country. So our colleagues from the digital unit have come up with a document that highlights use of the Uber system that especially those who are familiar that Hero Tractor is using, as one way of engaging young people to facilitate mechanization access by smallholder farmers. Apart from that, Zambia is having a very big opportunity because of this larger land holding sizes by the farmers, which facilitate that they can use mechanization. And the youth, if they are organized, they can be offering mechanization as a service if they are organized as in hubs where they can talk to machine providers so that they can rent, using maybe rent as you pay. They can own a tractor and start servicing farmers, in the process be paying back to the machine providers. So those are just my thoughts in response to the question that was raised by my brother from Zambia. Then to add on to the question that was asked by Riendre from Rwanda, I think if we want to engage women, especially in male-dominating farming communities, the key is to have a multifaceted and also a deliberate approach. So, for example, we can have tailored financial products that targets women. Maybe there can be a delivery program that will lower interest rates that are more friendly to women so that they can lease mechanization tools. We can also have deliberate policies or frameworks that are more gender systems in terms of how women secure land, on how implement policies that set targets that supports women participation in how they can honor agricultural mechanization programs, including subsidies. Then also deliberate efforts to train them in simple tools, like Mwangangi was saying that winnowing, operating threshers, operating shearers, those simple machinery, while building their business and entrepreneurship skills in the process. Thank you.
Asante sana. I think the next two questions are really, I would want to combine them, but I know, Mwangangi, you probably might have mentioned something on this, but you might as well just highlight. There's a question from Lona Kedenji. Are there any training, safety, or maintenance concerns associated with the use of locally built threshers? And I think you mentioned about threshers. And how have you been able to address this? And I think if you look at what Solomon Kahoro has asked, what types of locally made or adapted threshing equipment are currently in use among smallholders and youth farmers in the region? And how do they perform, compared to commercial alternatives? And I think you had mentioned something around the comparatives that are always being made between the commercially available solutions versus the locally developed solutions for mechanization. Please, if you may, just talk to this. And Amos, maybe you can also add something on it, if you may.
Okay, well, let me begin by the last question about how do the local mechanization being compared with the I think it is I think this is by the imported ones.
Yes, I think that would be the concern. I think
yeah, it's a concern about the machine which are coming from
the quality.
I
think quality, and I think also a question around threshing. Is there a question around the quality of performance in terms of performance of the equipment? And number two, the outputs.
Exactly. Okay, now when I was figuring about local mechanization in Kenya and across the continent, one thing I was looking at threshing capacity. Threshing capacity and what are techniques which I can use to make sure that those are coming from outside or from the abroad, African or Kenyan youth, we will not rely on imported again. We ourselves, we can make it. We ourselves, we can ring it because they are simple. One thing is in comparison, what I'm using in my thresher, for example, I'm using chain mounted in shaft. You know, the chains are very flexible. So the chains can be squeezed inside the threshing materials and produce a very clean production. When you look at the drum, I was fingering on how is the size of the mean combined harvester thresher. That's a combined harvester machine. You know, this is what I was figuring on. So I wanted to bring a competitive machine that can bring competition in Africa. And that is why my last question is, do you know African, we can reduce post-harvest by 70% using our local materials here. This is the game. So the comparison using our local material is very high in terms of threshing capacity. When it goes to the safety, our machines are able to adapt. Oh, it is not like the other machine which can be scared. You can get being injured. The safety we have made, the safety guard that can enclose anything that can cause harm in our machines. Remember, my idea was not to become rich. My idea was to spread the technology across the country and help our people. I think, Amos, you can have just some little in that. Yes, welcome, Mr. Kamal. Back to you, Kiman.
Okay, I've just taken over from Kimati. He has stepped out on an emergency issue. There is some questions from Solomon Kahoro. What types of locally made adapted threshing equipment are currently in use among smallholder and youth farmers in the region? And how do they perform compared to commercial alternatives? That's a question from Solomon. And then there is a comment on from Joseph Mwangi. He says that he thinks in mechanization, we also need to think about climatic change. Some of these machines are negatively impacting our ecosystem, particularly soil degradation, erosion, among others. And then, so we should be focusing on training and sensitizing farmers on the choice of machines to be used. There is also another question from Miriam Mutua. Is a comment. She says that as a benefactor of locally fabricated thresher, she is glad to operate it without difficulties and preventing post-harvest losses. And it is also creating jobs for operations. And she thanks Mwangangi for doing the best. So would you like to comment on those and respond to the question that was raised by Solomon Kahoro?
Yes, let me respond to the Solomon. I think this is it is just the same question that was being asked by someone else about the output and comparison
Yes,
of the other machines. Yes.
We can't hear you in case you're muted.
I think it's your network, Rachel. We can hear it correctly.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, now in the response of this is
hello, Abanas, I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
Rachel, we can hear him.
You can hear me now?
Kanto, maybe there is a technical issue on
it is about
side. Could you please
your
assist?
side, Rachel? We can hear him.
Yeah, we can hear him, but I think it's Rachel's network.
Exactly.
You can continue, Albanese, it's fine.
Okay, now, according to my design and research, what I wanted to bring into Africa was something which can outpower the imported machine from across the board. Because adaptability of the machines in different regions of the country. You find that there are some regions which they grow different crops depending on climate change. But my machines are adaptable to any region, Escobarin is the arid regions and also upland regions. As I've said, beginning from beans production up to millet production, the output in terms of threshing capacity is very high as compared to others. Grain breakages, it is too low. That is the losses. It is too low as compared to others. The reason behind is this machine has been designed and fabricated to the crop that we grow here, not to the crop which has been tested abroad and bring back to Africa. It is to be tested back again here. That is the ringing question behind it, the turning point. So that is what made me to think more on. If we come up with a rural-based local manufacturing, can this overwork this? And that is why I want also to clear is, I'm using a chain instead of metallic beater. The metallic beater here, sometimes it can coin some material like beans. Sometimes if you want to thread things like pigeon pea is I think it is a kind of crop which can grow in arid area, but it's very tedious to thresh using their own plants. But when you go to the machine, the chains are able now to roll it and thresh it very easily. Unlike the other machine which are being imported. And this is the difference. So one of the unique value proposition in my machine here is the chain mounted in the shaft. This is what it can bring different work. Number two, it is the sieve size. That is why I'm talking about a production in terms of a capacity, like the other machine. Yes, the other machine, they can do it, but there is a very great loss. If you fall out and then you make some comparison, you find that, okay, this, in fact, we're supposed to use this because this one has become a very big losses. Another something else that hinders the production is mobility. The designing from the outside, they were looking at something which can be carried by either pickup, a big vehicle. But according to my design, I was keenly looking at the small scale farmers and the youth. Remember, we have so many youth across who are using motorbike and bicycle. Those are the people I was looking at to start with. And if you want to go far, then it is now the chance to use a vehicle like a lorry, or you use a pickup and go. And if you have a small vehicle like a car, you just disengage the engine or motor, and then you put your material inside and then you move. So mobility was also another problem I was looking at. Can this one move across? Because in Africa, we had some problem in terms of infrastructure. And this is what I was looking at, to reach to that person where he or she is, to make our threshing more effective. Yeah, back to you, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Abanas. I have seen some people that have worked with you. Abanas, do you mind bringing them in so that they can just testify on the work that you're doing and share their experience? I see Miriam Mutua. And I also see Lydia Makoka. Lydia or Miriam, would you like to come in and share your experiences, please?
Yes, I can talk.
Yes.
Everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we are getting you. Miriam, go on.
Yes, I'm Miriam Mutua from Makueni County, and the Mwangangi fabricated machine to me that I'm threshing. I'm threshing both pulses and cereals using it, and also for the fabrication, it is easier to operate it, and also make great jobs for the youth. For example, I have two threshers from Mwangangi, and the work is recommendable. And also others are inquiring where I get the machine so that they can get it, because it is making the work easier for them. And also comparing the other threshers that have been awarded with the Mwangangi one, the work is recommendable. And I thank him for making my work easier. As an aggregator, I thresh the pulses to the farmers and I made market for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I saw another comment from Lydia Makoka. Lydia, in case you would like to say something on your experience. I don't see her, unfortunately. Are there any other comments or questions that we have left out?
Maybe I can have one question to Mwangangi and the previous speaker. We know the issue of KRA, but is it possible to estimate what maybe your revenue from the business that you are operating? We will not send this information to Kenyan Revenue Authority to start taxing you.
Okay. This is a very ambiguous question, Mr. Amos. For the revenue projection, I think it is quite increasing since from 2022 up to now. I think for the first time, by the revenue projection, I didn't sell any machine for the first year, that is 2022, but for 2021, but for 2022, I said one. So I make a revenue projection of 200,000. That is Kenyan money. And now it keeps on increasing for more. For now, I think I'm about to close my season, because I normally close the season after threshing ends in Lower Eastern. So as I start from the Western part, that is the time I start again making projection for the next year. So in each and every September, I normally close. So for this September, I think it is estimated around 600,000. That is for the Kenyan money. So for these 600,000, it is only for the selling machines and the threshing services. After paid all the operators and all the services, except renting and other things like licenses. Yeah. So there is a lot in the post service and also in a local fabrication. There is a lot to enjoy on. Yeah. Back to you.
Thank you, Abanas. There was also a question to Miriam. What is the revenue? But from the same question, I would like to add that how do you compare your, before you were using Mwangangi's threshold, now, like what are the differences in the revenue? I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. In my presentation, in the strategies growth and the impact slides, I think I've highlighted on diversification of different products there. The more you're interacting with the farmers, the more you know more problem about the farmers. So there, I'm not just selling machine and offering the threshing services alone. Remember, I put all my effort on post-harvest productions. So this revenue is not about there is selling threshers alone. There is also silage making production machines are inside here, and also motorized plow, of which it is something which has been seen across the board. But here in Africa, I'm also fabricating a motorized plow that can make our farm much more easier. Remember, my idea is to target on youth, because the youth are the most energetic people. If we lose this energy, we will be crying of food security. But if we uphold this energy of energetic youth, African will be a great part to be tour to look on. What do we do in Africa? So I do a lot of diversification. That is why you see that the revenue projection is increasing day after day. Yeah. I think I've answered you, Rachel.
But there was also a question from Amos to Miriam. While Miriam is navigating the system, there is a question from David Wafula. Are you planning to protect your innovations from possible theft? He is actually referring to the Kenya Intellectual Property Organization. He says Kenya Intellectual Property Organization.
Let me respond to that question. Okay, sorry. Let me respond to that question. First thing I did after getting the breakthrough was to patent my innovation. That was the first thing I did. So if you get my innovation and you see someone just trying to photocopy or to do something, of course, I know that it will not work, but that person refer him as a thief because I've already patented my machine. So all my prototypes and the machines are already patented. So I've secured. They are secured. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I can't see any hands, and there are also no further comments in the chat. At this point, I would like to call Kudakwashe. Yes,
Sorry,
Stella?
Rachel. Yeah,
Yes.
Stella here. I had put a comment asking before Kudakwashe closes. I wanted to ask if there's any participant who is here and would like to share something, because we really would like to hear more from you. We highly appreciate presentation by Mwangangi, and we know some of you are here might probably be having something to share. If you do, please just type on the chat that I am so and so from this country and I would like to share this. So we'll see how we could team you up with some other presenters in the future webinars. And I also wanted to mention that we organize these webinars. Now we have decided to focus on the last week of every month. So we will have one in October, we'll have one in November, then December we'll take a break, and then we'll continue in January. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There is a hand from Anthony Senyonga. Yes, Anthony, please go ahead.
Hello, do you hear me very well?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we're
can.
getting
Do you
you.
hear?
Yes, go on.
Okay. Very good afternoon, esteemed guests, fellow innovators, and champions of agriculture transformation. I'm Anthony Senyonga, a youth agronomist and the CEO of Divine Mercy AgroConnect, a company dedicated to advancing mechanization in my home country, that is Uganda. It's an honor to contribute to this vital conversation on unlocking the potential of women and youth in smallholder mechanization across Southern and Eastern Africa. Yeah, I want to submit something in relation to what the last speaker has mentioned about that if there is anyone in need of sharing maybe something. So before I seek green light on that, whether I proceed or I zero. Should I proceed?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Proceed.
yes,
So
you can.
mechanization, yes, and anyone
Okay,
who has another topic
yes.
for
Okay.
future, you are welcome just to type there, and then we can contact you,
It's
put your name and
it's
email.
it's mechanization in a particular, it's mechanization. Okay, as a young agronomist, I have witnessed first-hand challenges that smallholder farmers face, others manual labor, limited access to financing, and a perception of farming as an outdated livelihood. Yet I also see immense promise. So mechanization, when paired with the inclusive strategies, I see that it has the power to transform agriculture into a dignified, efficient, and attractive sector for the next generation. So at Divine Mercy AgroConnect, we are committed to championing this change by empowering youth and women as leaders in this revolution. So I'd like now us dissect the opportunity before us based on the data that you have given that women and youth form the backbone of agriculture in our region, contributing significantly to crop production and performing the most labor-intensive tasks. However, reliance on hand hose and animal traction has fueled rural to urban migration and stifled innovation in my region. So mechanization, I believe that it offers a pathway to reduce drudgery, boost productivity, and create future-oriented opportunities. So my journey with the Divine Mercy has shown me that scale appropriate technologies supported by entrepreneurship and policy action can make this a reality, just the way Mr. Albanas Mwangaga has been almost preaching about his business model. So allow me to take you through some of the challenges and solutions. One of the biggest barriers we face is affordability. I think also talked about it. High equipment costs and poor maintenance practices often limit adoption. So as a youth-led enterprise, we have explored practical business models such as equipment rental services and partnerships with the local mechanics to bridge this gap. So on this particular note, I encourage us to unpack these supply chain challenges and opportunities, focusing on access, financing, and capacity building. Okay, for instance, digital innovations, including agri-tech startups, can streamline services, reduce costs, and empower women and the youth as service providers, operators, and innovators. So that solution is tailored to youth in particular. So allow me again take you through the showcasing pathways. That in my work, I've seen young entrepreneurs in Kenya and Tanzania. The good thing that the likes of Mr. Albanas, one of the guest speakers, has already shared with us, and other fellows thrive by integrating mechanization into their operations. Now you listen. At Divine Mercy AgroConnect, we are developing viable models that emphasize youth-led mechanization services, from custom hiring to digital demand aggregation. These efforts not only enhance productivity, but also create dignified employment opportunities. So I urge us to share and replicate these success stories for the likes of Rachel and maybe other people that have already submitted from Kenya and Tanzania, respectively. So let me go to the call to action. Then I finalize. That to my fellow youth and women in this sector, I believe that you and I are drivers of change. Let us seize this moment to lead this innovation, collaborate with the financiers and the policymakers, and build ecosystems that support mechanization. To achieve this, we need inclusive policies, accessible financing, and collective commitment to skill development. Together, you and I can make farming more efficient, sustainable, and appealing to the next generation. I look forward to the deep dive dialogue ahead and the insights we will gain from the speakers that have not yet submitted. Thank you so much. I remain Anthony Senyonga, agronomist and CEO for Divine Mercy AgroConnect Limited from Uganda, East Africa. Thank you so much. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Anthony. In the interest of time, I would like to call Kudakwashe to close and just share with us something that they are preparing in Botswana.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, go.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, thank you so much. I would want to take this opportunity to thank our presenters, Dr. Amos and team. We also value our youth that attended this webinar. And as Stella have highlighted, for the coming month, we are preparing also to have another webinar. Then in November, then we are going to skip December. Then in January, definitely we have another webinar going forward as we learn these business models. But really, it was quite interesting where we are taking a deliberate move for women to participate in the agribusiness space, particularly in the mechanization. Yeah, it was quite insightful. Then just to close, we are preparing to have an expo, an agri-food systems trade fair expo in Botswana. It's from the 6th to the 7th of October, which is next week. We really invite some of the youth that are not going to be able to attend physically, whereby they can also attend virtually, so that at least they can appreciate as some of the youth from the region, as they exchange their value chains that they are participating in, be it their processing or their in production. But otherwise, to close this meeting, thank you so much. We hope to meet next time. When you come next time, bring a friend from the village to also attend these webinars, which are so exciting and also opens up for business opportunities. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Oh, nice.